Paul, can you hear me? Oh. You need to unmute your deal.
There we go.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to go back into, Mito made the motion to go back in regular session. There a second?
I'll go ahead and second.
It's 1:20. We got two commissioners that are on their way back. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So let's go to number 15. Paul, Carl. Are you there?
I'm here, Judge.
Yes, Judge, I'm here. This is Paul.
Okay. I don't know if everybody got one, but we got the tabulation of the bids. You want to go through it, Paul?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We invited three vendors to submit proposals, which we received two in a timely manner as advertised. The WRC is a water resource company. They were the apparent low bidder. Do you have my agenda sheet with my letterhead on my letterhead?
Yeah, it's dated September 3rd, and it has RWC proposal and Marcor proposal. Is that it?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, sir, I have it.
On my letterhead, I broke down the bids, and both of the bids were in compliance to the request. The WRC, their base bid was 173,000 and change, and then Marcor was 209,784. Neither one included freight. So the freight is estimated at about 6,000. And then WRC had an additional fee for consumables. I guess this is all part of startup, and which includes filters and chemicals and that. Marcor appeared to have that in their bid. In any case, WRC was the low apparent bidder at $187,370. Mr. Jeff Borowski reviewed the proposal, and I believe y'all were copied on the email saying that he had no problem. Looks like it's all in order. And I would say we, in order to meet the Texas Department of Agriculture and their requirements, that the low bid would be WRC, and that's what I recommend.
I know, I noticed there were some questions TDA had in reference to the bidding or misunderstanding of what was happening. And one of the things that we need to realize, and just let Carl be the point of contact for all responses to TDA. I did get copies of both publisher affidavit I give to Margie. Mr. Martinez got to me in reference to 2 different periods of advertising for this bid. The first time there was none, and the second time again. And I think some letters were sent as well to some of the vendors, because in the newspaper of circulation, there's really no contractors that do this type of work. So in reality, you got to actually reach out to these guys based on experience or performance, to get them to invest. But even though we're spending above and beyond what the state is matching. When we sold the project, it was one project, which was the building and the equipment. So we can tell the state, yeah, we're spending our own money, but they all look at it one project. And I know it's a lot of work for the amount of commitment they're doing, but we just don't want to create any more hardship with them because we had a real hard time getting this grant, Paul. Um, and I don't want it to go south with the state. So I like Carl to be the only one to respond. And he can give you a lot of different war stories on how hard it is to deal with TDA nowadays. So, so I think he can hold his tongue better than I can and you can, because I'll get upset because they come up and they change the rules as they go along, but he knows the rules that they have and he's been able to master them, keep a pretty good relationship with them. So I'd say, hey, just let Carl handle it. Are you okay with that, Carl?
Yes, sir. Only comment I have is that if anybody outside the arena other than the judge or myself reaches out to TDA to, for a concern or a question, if any other staff or consultant or whatever, well, that sort of raises a red flag at TDA. And so they start to kind of question, kind of what the protocol there is and what's going on. So yeah, I would like to just reaffirm that the best way to do that is to, I think, if there is a question, have either the judge or I send that via an email to TDA, but then we can copy everybody on that. That way everybody's in on the booth and everybody knows what's going on.
Yeah, because they were questioning whether it was publicly advertised, whether we did it or not. And I understand kind of, Paul, well, what does it matter? It's counties using their own money. And yes, we are, but they still hold us to a different standard. But the reality was that you all advertised first, and you got published affidavit for 2 different circulation dates. You advertised again, and got the publisher's affidavit for 2 circulation dates, and you went above and beyond and sent letters and emails to other people that provide this type of work. So it's met the threshold of any requirement. But it's one of those things that they've created little hurdles, and I think Carl's really good at dealing with those. And my only question on this bid was Borowski familiar with both these contractors? Is he okay with both these contractors? Has he worked with these contractors? So we accept the low bid, then Borowski can take care of that.
Yes, these contractors were previously discussed with Mr. Borowski, and that's why we reached out to them, because of his past experience with these contractors. So I think we're in good standing. I certainly understand your request for letting Carl do everything from here on. I apologize for stepping out of the realm there, and that won't happen again.
And I understand that they start asking all these questions. Have you done this and that? And it's like, what are you paying for? There's no guarantee they're paying for anything. So you don't, but we don't want to create a situation that makes it extra difficult. So I said, hey, let me get Carl to answer back, or Joel to answer back. And, if it's an administration problem, we'll defer to them. And I defer to Carl. And I think we'll be okay. The bid that came in, the low bid, which is the 187,370, that is for the water system that's needed to support the dialysis equipment, right?
That is correct. That's equipment and installation and validation, the testing, and to meet HHSC, who is the state entity that governs the construction of dialysis centers.
So the doctor has reviewed, the project is now being done by Davila. The doctor reviewed those plans, and then the doctor has reviewed the water plans. So other than change orders that may pop up or equipment that may need purchased, uh, is this the last of the bidding that we're looking at?
Now, there's, from separate company, different companies, we will request, some proposals or bids on the dialysis machines, the chairs, and any furnishings that y'all want to form out or request a bid for. But the dialysis chairs and the equipment pretty much go hand in hand, different entities, for versus the water system. That's over $50,000.
Yeah, and the equipment, the final bid that we're gonna do for the equipment, are you gonna do it at 40%, 50%, 60% of contract completion? There has to be a point where you start advertising so you don't hold on to it for too long. Or it doesn't, we don't want to order it now because where do we put it? So you're gonna order it closer to your substantial completion date.
I believe, and we'll get Jeff Borowski to verify this, but I believe we can get those proposals and then put in a proposed date of delivery. I think it would be good to lock in this year's prices because typically at the turn of the year, prices tend to go up. And there is a
And
lead time.
I think it's good. The only question I have, if we do it too early, if we take the equipment, when does the warranty start for the equipment? So we want to make sure that delivery date is close enough to where it can be installed. It's not in the way and it doesn't affect any warranty or installation issues.
We will coordinate that to be a last minute, but within time for the state to review. Again, we'll reach back to Jeff Borowski to, we'll advertise and then we'll reach out to specific vendors if we, that he knows that he's worked with and invite them as well.
And Margie, if you could make sure you make another minute that we have a full quorum now during the first item. So,
Judge, I got a question.
yes, sir.
Okay, before the court takes action on this, I guess kind of related or maybe directed to Paul. So are we considering awarding the contract to Water Resources Company?
Well, that's what the recommendation is, but do you know anything about them, Mr. Esser?
Well, I mean, I don't have any concerns on that. So they'll be providing the equipment through AmeriWater, and that's where they're supposed to get the equipment from for the dialysis clinic. And then Water Resources Company will actually, are they doing the installation?
They are the company that you are contracting through. They're the distributors as well as installers. And they also can provide ongoing maintenance. I talked to Gary Rule, who is their representative. He says typically they'll do maintenance or preventive maintenance throughout just at the owner's request. But they certainly can work on an agreement to where it can be a routine situation.
Yeah, can you speak up just a little bit? I'm having a hard time hearing you.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm talking fairly loud, but am I all right now?
Yeah, better.
So the WRC will be the contract, the vendor and installer, contractor that's going to install equipment, provide install. AmeriWater is the manufacturer. So WRC is who we look toward for as this agreement goes.
So WRC will be the ones that will be on the project site.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And will some of that have to be incorporated before the slab's poured?
I have coordinated, we've got locations of plumbing based on another design, and we need to get our drawings to Gary for them to lay out their equipment because it's a little bit different, and we may adjust the under slab plumbing, like the floor sinks where they have the water discharge, and just finalize that. So that's why it's critical we get these guys on board. They get us a design and they confirm, our layout, or we make adjustments for the plumber. Because they're going to start, underground plumbing this next week or two, under slab plumbing.
Okay.
What is your recommendation, Mr. Rylander?
I recommend we go with WRC, the low bid.
And did this come in within budget?
Our revised budget, I believe we had 200,000 in there is what I'm remembering.
Okay. So it came in within the budget that we have there, right?
Yes, sir.
So the recommendation would be to accept for the water system, equipment needed for dialysis clinic, WRC, in the amount of 187,370. Would that be correct?
The only variable might be the amount of freight. That's an estimated cost.
So-
Please look at the note below. The last little paragraph, I noted that they did not have a water sample to test to see the hardness and what kind of contaminants may be in it. That they have bid on a system that they feel would meet and handle the city's water supply. But if there's anything anything unusual, then it's possible they may have to add some equipment in order to help purify that water. That'll be the next.
All right.
That'll be next step. The company WRC will take is analyze that water, have it tested, and come back with. And we can confirm. We'll confirm it as well. The hardness and the pH, how much iron and other organics in the water.
So we would need a motion to authorize low bid of 187,370. And they're going to work with Davila Construction to install it, right,
They'll coordinate. Yes,
sir?
Davila will coordinate their installation.
Yeah, but once the building gets, you're going to work with Davila Construction. Davila was the bidder of the dialysis clinic, right?
Of the building itself.
Yes, yes.
Finish out.
And what I'm asking is that this contractor will work with Davila, or is he going to work with you?
He will coordinate and work with both of us, basically.
Okay. So we would need a motion to authorize the low bid for the water system needed for the dialysis clinic.
I'll make the motion, Judge.
Second.
Motion has been made and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. Now, we left the change order and table number change order, which is number 7. And Jorge provided us a change order. Are you there, Jorge?
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Pick on a Jorge day.
So if you look at the printouts, it reflects all the items that are either over or under based on actual installations. To help summarize what you're reading, the reconciliation component of the 169 that's being proposed is it's 115,954. So what that means is with all the actual quantities that were installed by Anderson, 115,000 out of the 169 is to address those actual installations. The additional 54,000 is the additional work that we were referencing off I-35 East Frontage Road. So this is what the change order is on the spreadsheet. It shows every line item of what was actually installed, whether it went up or down. As an example, we had some additional quantity on the embankment, so that increased from the original contract price. But then there was items that were not billed 100% because it only got installed to a certain portion. As an example, in that situation, that's like the Tom C asphalt. That one it actually underran in that scenario. So after you add up every single line item, plus and minus, this is what the total is. And the additional drainage improvements are the 54. Now this, if approved, will close out everything for them to complete. In addition to their warranties, punch list is still pending. I did talk to the contractor over the break and confirmed they need 6 to 7 days to finish this work, and they're proposing getting there Tuesday or when, depending on when they get the certain equipment they need for the ditch. But they're looking at getting out within 6 to 7 working days, and they'll be out if approved.
Okay, I'll make the motion just to approve it.
Motion's been made. Is there a second to approve the change order presented? And keep in mind, you're still withholding 100,000, right?
Yes, sir. That's still the
Right.
action item that we cannot release retainage. We can only we were going to withhold 100,000 out of the retainage. We can authorize it once they're done with everything and approved everything and close out up to keeping back $100,000. And that item will be back at another meeting, and likely depending if you want the contractor there too, as well.
So, motion been made and second this is the final change order, right?
Yes, this will be the last item, this contract.
Who seconded it? Ronnie? Okay. All those in favor say aye. Did you get a copy of the change order, Margie? Okay.
And that's the last change order.
That's it. Yes, sir.
Tax rate calculation. I don't know if you have a budget analysis available or not available on you. But I got the tax rate calculation from Ms. Gonzalez here. And I'm able to calculate tax rate. I've been doing it for many years, even before County Judge with Mrs. Linares, and we kind of double check to see if they matched. And the most simple way to calculate a tax rate is that you take your general, your road bridge, and your debt service collections, like in 2019, and you take the appraised values and divide them by 100, and it gives you your rate. So doing a very simple version, I came up like 49 cents per hundred, and Dora came out with 52. So it's in the market. So she's breaking out on this receipt. She has maintenance operations some 0.38321, and then the debt service is 0.12067, which I didn't get to see Jorge's numbers, and a de minimis rate of collect additional 500,000 0.008127. But it looks like the form has changed from previous years because we've always included a farm to market and um, the road taxes in the calculation. And this year it doesn't have any calculation. So if we do the 0.3821, it would levy 22,397,089 in maintenance taxes. So what we need to do is compare that to, we need to compare that to your general fund, to your road and bridge taxes, and if there's any other breakup, to make sure that's enough to cover it. And if so, we're okay. Because it doesn't, so that's the final step that we have to do to make sure it matches. And I'm telling you, I'm thinking it is because I figured a 0.49. And then once you add properties and take out new properties, there's a process that she has to go through. You know, it comes up a little higher. And I'm estimating a 90, I gave you the 22 million at a 95%, at 100% collection rate, it'd be 23 million. So this is the calculation. And Dora's gonna have to advertise and get with the newspaper to run the ads so we can get it approved the last week of September so they can start the collections. So when I have to have a meeting on Tuesday, this will probably be the first agenda after we compare and make sure it's correct, that it provides. And then that way she can advertise. But last year, the tax rate was 42 cents. The values drop, it would take 52 cents of tax collection. You know, and we might be able to cut the rate a little bit down by final approval at the end of September. So, but I wanted you all to see the calculation, and there's been some changes. The form changes have changed, and I believe the tax rate collection for the road and bridge was always 22% of the general levy for road. That's why you all have additional money. So we want to make sure that they have enough money in the rate before we approve it. And I'm thinking we do because her calculation is 3 cents higher than my, quick look at it. I can get more detailed to do it, but right off the bat, you can pretty much calculate where about you're going to be at. So I wanted you all to look at the rate, and then on next Tuesday, we'll have a meeting, and then the rates are in here. You'll see 0.38521. That's maintenance operation. So it should include farm to market, but because it changed, and the debt service is 0.12067. And then there's a new rate called de minimis that was done when the statute, it's called rate necessary to impose 500,000 taxes, divide 500 by 67 and multiply by 100. So that's part of the calculation now, and it's 0.008127. So it gives you an idea of where we're at, and then on Monday we'll break it out and decide. We'll figure out how much each road and bridge would get based on this rate. Just make sure there's enough, and I think there is. But I wanted you all to see a calculation. and then we'll get some questions, but it doesn't have the farm to market calculation anymore. Not on this one unless there's a different worksheet. But I think it generates enough money to cover everything. So once we look at the budget analysis with Mary on Monday, come back. They need to go ahead and start the advertising in the newspaper. And you're limited to only a 3% increase in tax rate. But I think with some of the changes that's happening, I mean, I would just try to keep the tax rate where it's at. The effective, well, I mean, it's at 42 cents, but try to keep it at the effective tax rate. So last year was 42, and this year it says it goes to 52. Once we look at the numbers from Mary, it's possible that if we look at last year's collections, this year's collections, we can cut it down a little bit without hurting any department.
Because the year before we had it like at 50, no?
The year before it was 70.
Oh, yeah.
It was
And then we
70.
went down to 50.
The year before it was 70.
And
And then we had some real low rates, but those were because of the errors that were made. We had adopted a higher rate, but only a smaller was collected. So, well,
we're good.
I can give you different scenarios but the effective tax rate, according to her, it's 52 cents. We want to make sure it collects enough, but we want to make sure it doesn't over collect. And so I'm just going to ask to table this until Tuesday, and then we do the comparison. We'll go from there.
I'll make the motion, Jeff. To table.
The table till Tuesday.
Second.
Motion's been made and second. All those in favor say aye.
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 So the only thing left are the bills, reports, and minutes, I believe.
Thank you.
Mhm. then there's the other ones that people ask us for 0. And those we make them do an application. We either pay $1,000 to bury them or $1,500 to cremate them. But the inquest is one of the things that we can't deny. It's service that has to be done. I just ask that they use their best judgment right now. Can't hear me? Oh, hold on. I asked that they be using the best judgment because right now the medical examiner is behind on cases and people are asking for death certificates when they're behind. So I've asked the JPs to make sure if they go on site and they find someone that's been deceased, has been out, to look at their surroundings. If they don't think it's just foul play, look at medications, maybe even check with a doctor before making a determination, because it's easy to send everybody for an autopsy, but what's happening is some people are not getting their death certificates for 2 or 3 months now because they're so far behind. And so I said, they got to use their judgment, when make a, example, if somebody dies and they've been sick for a while, they've known they have problems, and you look at medications, they're taking something. So you know what? There's no foul play. I don't think I killed. I'm going to do it natural causes. There's an accident involving equipment or trucks. Naturally, you're going to have to do something.
And then it takes longer to get that for your tomb, right?
Yeah, it takes longer for that. That's but what I'm hearing, like in Laredo, they're burning people in the crematory day and night, and they can't keep up. And in the valley, they got so many people, they're behind just in the cremations. So it's taking a toll on everybody. But if you see somebody there that you think need application, we'll get Mario to make sure he follows up with the application. Straight up, so people know, is that many people with COVID, when they move them to hospital, they put them in a bag, and they've asked to be cremated. So they're burning them with a bag, in the bag. They're not taking them out to prevent contamination. So what people are in the neighborhoods are smelling all that plastic. So it smells bad. I mean, it smells bad because of all the plastic. So there's a shortage of that equipment throughout the U.S. So there's things we don't think about, but yeah, because that plastic
Like
smells
in
when
New
it
York,
burns.
they were putting them in trailers, no?
Well,
Reefers.
one of the things that we may want to look at, because Mario's out of storage space, is we may want to try to get an equipment trailer for storage, because it usually comes like calls are stacked. Usually when something bad happens, you got 3, 4 ambulances going one time, and it happens with deaths. You had a series of 5 or 6 deaths in a week, and what happens? Other cities have it at the same time, and they have no place to put them, because what's happening in Laredo is that they have so many people from other countries that are dead that they cannot burn, that they got to wait to send. And with the COVID, it's backlogged, so they don't have space for people. So we may have to be looking at renting a truck or something just for LaSalle in the future.
Bad.
So yeah, it's bad. Things that we never thought we'd have to address.
motion to approve the minutes as presented. The bills, I'm sorry, take it back.
I'll go in second.
Aye.
Aye.
I got it.
You got it.
Yeah.
Make the motion to approve the minutes as presented.
Second. Aye.
Now, election judges. So the state sent me an order, I'm sure they sent it to you too, Marky. Did you fill it out already? For election judges? Is that it? So we're looking precinct 1, 5, and 6, Chelsea Garcia is the judge. This is for election date on November 3rd, 2020. Elida Rodriguez. And precinct 2, Maria Teresa Adams and Esmeralda Arce. Precinct 3 and 3A, Duvelsa Rodriguez and Sandra Mendez. Precinct 4, Shirley Franklin and Debbie Holland. And the early vote would be Erica Hathaway and Olga Muriel.
Like, no, Oiga,
These are election judges.
Oiga Muriel, she doesn't want.
What about your early ballot judges? It would be both.
So is that for how long? Is that gonna be for a week, 2 weeks? No, just that one. Okay.
But you had Elsa in signatures last time, right?
Yes, but she kept this time with the standing on the ballot the same. So she's gonna be busy with it.
Oh, she's gonna be over there with her? Okay. I mean, I'm okay with that. The only thing is I try to get some people that don't work for the county to give them the opportunity.
Yeah.
You know, it would be my, suggestion, but I know you have experience in there too. So that's the only thing I would consider. Huh?
Usually I get those, but this one she couldn't.
I'll make the motion to approve the election judges. Yes,
As presented,
yes, sir.
Second.
motion's been made in second. Is there
Make the
any,
motion to adjourn.
oh, we have to vote on this first.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed, same sign. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I make the motion to adjourn.
Oh, wait, no, we still have one item, right?
Which one?
Number 18,
What is it?
Margie,
Well,
District Clerk.
Discussion possible action to start moving in county and district clerk. Well, we don't have the building yet. And I've asked them to rekey the whole structure because they have had no control of the keys. So whenever they finish the keys, they sign off and then Margie has to put them in the lockbox, especially because the ballots are there. So we need to make sure that the master keys, she has them in the safety deposit box. That way somebody loses her key or she has to open, she has to go to the box, two people have to sign. And it's good because, we don't want any trouble related to the boxes. So we've asked them to rekey everything, or we're going to rekey everything before we move in. They should have done their system test. Their building should be ready to go. They got a couple things to fix. And after that, Margie wanted to move in after the election. We may have to do it sooner, but we may want to consider hiring a private company to help her move because it's a lot of records. So yeah. Well, they still have the keys. They still have the keys, so they should give it to them. Yeah, I don't have either. Earl. Earl should still have the key. Earl, so we'll get hold of him. Because but you don't have a key to the front door, right? So. Well, we can get all the keys back, but everything would have to be rekeyed all over again before the final opening of it. Because it's really important that no one, not me, not the sheriff, nobody else in for those ballot boxes or those deed records should have any access to those rooms. You know, and then, so like if I have access, it's only to the door, to the bathroom, and to my office, to office. And I forgot to tell you, not all the spaces will be needed because like we authorize Killis to do the new locations for the JPs. Well, the JPs will now have their own location to keep their records. So it's gonna free up and make more space for the county records or maybe some office space. It's gonna free up some space there. So at least, I mean, I can say we just table this item. Let me see where the keys are until Tuesday and see if we could figure out if they're gonna have a key. I don't know if Jorge is there or he's not. Everybody's gone. But we may have to call, you're comfortable with a guy from Pleasanton, right? The older man? We may want to call him to come to the keys and rekey everything. So we'll
Well, I'll
just
make the motion to table
table till Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Second.
Motion's been made and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? You all want to stay? Motion's been made and second. Said all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Hey, it was only a 5-hour meeting. Come on, 4-hour meeting.
It's a lot. No,
No, not as long.
it's getting bored.